Hello， 大家好，我是张老师，
我是 Eric。
今天这一集影片呢，是要跟大家分享一个非常传奇的大提琴家 Lynn Harrell 的专访影片。那这个影片其实是我们在2019年7月，因为他受邀到台湾参加那个大师新秀音乐节，他是其中一位大师，
没错。
所以我们那时候有做了这一支很棒的专访影片。
是。
那选择在这个时候呢，其实是因为Lynn Harrell大师他在4月27号的时候离开了我们。那这个影片希望可以带给大家非常多的很棒的资讯之外，我们也可以借由这个影片来一起怀念他。
那我们在这边也跟大家介绍一下 Lynn Harrell， 他其实是他曾经得过2届葛莱美奖的大提琴家，是非常非常传奇性的一个音乐家哦。然后他手上的大提琴呢，也是之前 Jacqueline Dupre 传给他的。我们会在接下来这次专访里面呢，同样会问到他使用琴的一些方式，还有他对于台湾音乐学生、台湾的音乐家有哪些看法，他都会在这支影片里面跟大家提出来。
那其实我们自己讲讲我们自己亲身跟他合作这支影片的时候的感受，我们其实很战战兢兢，因为我们知道他是非常非常厉害的大师，然后以我们这样子的资历，我们去访问他都会觉得好紧张。
没错。
然后那时候接触到大师的时候，的确刚开始他有板着一张脸，结果没想到大师一谈论到音乐的时候，我觉得他的神情就完全改变，真的那时候我们都非常的惊讶，就是其实谈论到音乐的时候，你可以从他的眼神里面跟他的谈吐里面知道他对这个音乐的热忱，然后我们就聊得非常的开心这样。
其实我们聊得蛮深入的，有一些非常深入很多哲理方面的东西在这里面会告诉大家。
我觉得只有像他到了这样子的地位的人才有办法分享出他整个人生的精华。
没错，
真的非常非常棒。那我们现在就来看一下这一支 Lynn Harrell 的专访影片。
I have never gotten tired playing the same piece over and over again. I think it's because even though the piece doesn't change, the depth of great music is such that we can find new things in the pieces. Or the things that we found maybe 20 years ago mean something different to us because we as human beings have changed from life experience. The experience of making music with different people, being exposed more and more to the great artists of the past and the present artists and then the new young artists that are coming up, so that they all inspire us and let us look at the music afresh. The Taiwanese students are particularly great in the world panorama of great countries that have classical music students because of a work ethic. There is a concept that if you work here in Taiwan, that if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. The things that are more challenging are aspects of aesthetics and aspects of the way music is put together, what is important to bring out in the music, and the feeling of the rhythm of music, the flow of music. Those are very much more difficult things and philosophical ideas that are more difficult. But it's just remarkable how extraordinary the intelligence and the musical sensitivity and the work ethic is here in this country.
They have a great techniques or something like that.
Oh yes, the technique is quite remarkable. The musical understanding needs work, and that's why Jimmy has gathered these great artists from around the world to assist in that, to open young people's eyes to things that they had no idea about before we've come here.
What kind of things do you think that students can improve their artistic stuff?
I think it's a matter of an understanding of mid-European classical musical style as brought about by not only the composers, but the first performers and the first generations of performers from mid-Europe who performed these pieces. There is a pressure nowadays to have an individual voice, and sometimes to strike a chord in the listener's ear that person is playing very individually. It's tempting to go away from the basic philosophical and musical premises on which the music is based. One student many years ago asked me, "Mr. Harrell, when did you become Lynn Harrell?" In other words, my style of playing the cello. And it's a very good question. The basic answer is that takes a long time. And sometimes there's a pressure that we must make a great success aesthetically and technically with our instrument before we're 20 years old. And that pressure causes some young people to skimp and not do enough work on musicianship in certain areas, such as rhythm, musical style, tenderness of heart in their music making. Because when a person goes to a concert hall, of course, they can be dazzled by the technical prowess of the individual. But what they come away with is if they've been moved and touched so that their life is a little bit different from that experience. That's a little bit more difficult to achieve. It takes longer.
Everybody has their own life experience, and that's what makes the connection between them and the music. And what do you think? It's the chemistry that the music can touch those people.
That remains for me one of the great mysteries of life. It is so extraordinary. Someone could grow up here in Taiwan, completely different than the 50s in America. And yet we have an emotional and intellectual response to the music, the organization of the notes put together by a great genius like Beethoven, Schubert, Mozart, whomever. And its meaning transcends cultures and transcends the daily life, because certainly the daily life in 18th century Middle Europe was completely different than the daily life now with cell phones and computers. But yet, there's certain things like the language of Shakespeare that continues through centuries and touches us.
What did you think when you were playing?
Sometimes it's being aware of my surroundings. Make sure that I play something with the violins or with the piano, if I'm playing with piano, and listen very carefully to what my colleagues are doing and adjust to it. So sometimes I will play bum ba-dum ba-dum, and other times, because of what else is being done by the rest of the orchestra or the pianist or the chamber music, they go dum da-dum da-dum, and I have to adjust to that. So it's a creative process that's ongoing constantly, and that's what I'm thinking about when I'm playing. And a lot of it is not really any thought patterns. It's just being in an emotional place. Like I want to feel sad when the music is sad, but not so sad that I can't manage to create that sadness with my hands.
Our first young genius is the cellist, a boy of 16 named Lynn Harrell.
I had a great Montagnana since I was about 19 years old. And after 50 years, I decided to sell it because I had a Stradivari, and I was using that, which would belong to Jacqueline Dupre at a point in her life, early in her career. And then after a while, I realized that I've made my career and people expect my personality to come out when I play. So the actual instrument, therefore, is not as important as it was when I was forming my own personality and my own style of playing. So I decided to get a copy of the Montagnana and the Stradivari so that I would be able to give those instruments a rest. Occasionally an instrument will get tired, just like the human voice gets tired. So I asked Christopher Dungy to make a cello for me, and I was so delighted with it, and I loved it so much that I found that I didn't need to play an old instrument anymore. I was just very happy with playing this new instrument. Oh, that's a very mysterious question, because the instrumentalist who plays an instrument puts his life and soul into the instrument through playing it. And I noticed that when I first got the Stradivari that was played for a number of years by Jacqueline Dupre, I sounded like Jackie when I played it. I didn't really sound like myself. And I had to slowly sort of change the cello sound into sounding more like myself. The instrument takes on characteristics of the individual personality. That's one of the mysterious things about great classical musical instruments.
What's the difference for you think, about the old instrument and the new instrument?
The old instrument has had a life and is adjusted to many different players. So it has a kind of a flexibility. However, the wood is, of course, much older, 200, 300 years old, and a new instrument has aged wood, certainly, but wood that is new and fresh. So a lot of the playing characteristics, response of the string, evenness of the tone throughout the different ranges from the very lowest to the very highest, that a contemporary instrument will have an advantage over a very old instrument. An old instrument gets to have quirks and sort of strange things about it. You have to sort of adjust to it. It's a little bit like taking care of an old person. They're set in their ways much more than a young person. And an instrument is that way too. So a new instrument, it's completely an open slate. You can mold it to your own personality and your own way of playing it. Definitely easier than trying to change the habits of a 200-year-old musical voice.
What phrase do you want to encourage for those cellists?
I think the most important thing for a cellist is to become a really good colleague, to be able to work with all different types of musicians, all different levels of musicians, with patience and understanding, and also to be able to inspire when you're playing with someone who is not as experienced or is not as developed as you are. So I think that's part of the legacy of the cello. Cellists have a society. We like to get together, we like to party, we like to talk about things cello. Flutists don't. Violinists don't. So there's something about the fact that it's a large instrument and we put our arms around it that makes for a personality that is more accommodating and more giving and better for working situations with other musicians. So I would encourage that very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
希望大家喜欢今天的影片，喜欢的话记得分享、按赞、留任何问题都会回答你们。最重要的就是订阅我们，打开小铃铛。拜拜。